learn how to use different vocabularies, like we know incarceration, but we don't often use the term decarceration, right? That should be as much a part of our vocabulary. And I would like to see reforms that are situated outside of prison walls. So why is it that people have to go to prison who have drug problems in order to find some assistance? Why can't there be free drug programs for people who make decisions to do something about addictions? But then the drug problem is very complicated because, as we know, the vast population of imprisoned people has been fueled by the so-called war on drugs. And the war on drugs has been very much related to the rise of pharmaceuticals, right? Illicit drugs that propose to provide a drug for any problem we might have. So it's complicated. But first of all, I like to think of abolition as being the restructuring of our societies, so that we would develop those kinds of institutions that would keep people from going to prison in the first place. If we had, in the U.S., our schools, especially for poor people, are amazing. As a matter of fact, oftentimes you go into these elementary schools and you feel like you're in a juvenile detention center. So, first of all, better education, housing, recreation, healthcare, all of those things that would prevent people from going to prison. And then, in the institutions themselves, pending abolition, use a measure of providing assistance to the human beings who happen to be caught up in that unfortunate situation, as opposed to making better prisons. Because as abolitionists, we argue against the creation of better and better, powerful and stronger prisons. But we say that we also have to be aware of the human beings who are inside, who have needs, and even people who have done horrible things. And this is what has often prevented people from thinking seriously about abolition. What has prevented them from thinking seriously about abolition is the notion that somehow prisons protect us from these terrible people. People who've done horrible things. Well, first of all, not everybody who's done horrible things is behind bars. There are a lot of people walking around in the free world that are responsible for deaths of vast numbers of people and violence. But even people who have done these terrible things, putting them in prison is not going to prevent other people from engaging in the same behaviors. And so I think we need ways of addressing these issues, especially the horrible modes of violence that we see. How can you figure out why people do such terrible things? You can't do it by simply putting the perpetrators in prison and forgetting about it. You have to do it by a process that is protracted. There's an organization called Generation 5 in the U.S., and they say it is going to take 5 generations to end physical and sexual abuse in families, and that you can only do it by getting people to work with each other. So that is an organization of people who have been abused and people who have been abusers, who are working together to figure out